I'm rewatching Outlander from the beginning, and I wanted to talk about this underrated scene from episode 3 titled The Way Out. As always, this will have spoilers for the books and the show, so if you are looking to avoid those, please do keep on scrolling. There are so many scenes from this episode that I absolutely love, but this is one of the less obvious ones that I have always deeply loved, and it's, not as popular as the scene in the surgery when Jamie's smoldering at Claire, or the scene where they talk about the Lily of the Valley, which is not from the books. But I find this moment to be just as significant in showing such a major step forward in the relationship between Jamie and Claire. Jamie is brushing his own horse, and Claire seeks him for comfort and also to discuss the events that had just taken place and took up most of the plot of this episode, which is the whole Black Kirk situation with the young boy becoming poisoned by the plant that he eats, the Lily of the Valley. And it's a quiet moment, which is why I think it matters so much, because the tension of the main plot of this episode has passed, and now we're left with this scene that's mainly about character development, something that I think is really, really great between the two of them, and the pacing in season 1 in particular is perfect. And this is the first time I think that we see them working as a true team. This entire episode, there's plenty of examples of that, but I really love this scene in particular because Jamie's not physically helping Claire do anything, but he is emotionally helping her by listening to her and offering her advice that she is taking and using. From the way they're talking, it seems like there has been some time that has passed, and Claire has nobody else to open up to at Castle Yock, and definitely doesn't have anyone where she can openly say, I'll never get out of here. But Jamie and her have such a shared understanding of what it feels like to be trapped in this place, because Jamie is too. Claire and him have had enough conversations that by this point she knows the whole situation with Jamie and the price on his head, and instinctively that means that he'll understand her feelings, and Jamie for his part is more than happy to listen and be there for her and offer support without asking for anything in return. I think by now it's fairly obvious to viewers that he already loves her. I think you can feel that in the way that he looks at her, but Claire doesn't feel or see it yet, and that's by design. I also like that not everything has been spelled out in this scene. You don't know what Claire's thought process was in seeking Jamie out. How did she find him there? Have they been meeting like this often? Is this the first time? Or have they been doing this since Cranesmuir? Do they talk about other things? Does anyone else know how much time they're spending together? But it does so much to convey the intimacy that they are building with one another and the trust that's forming between the two of them. And I think on Claire's end, this feels like the makings of a real significant friendship between the two of them as well. And I think that's why their whole dynamic feels so believable, is because the foundation of it is very much a friendship, and they're not just falling in love, they're building that friendship first. I love how Jamie implies, you are doing some things right because Mrs. Fitz has started calling her a miracle worker, and Claire's reaction to that is very funny. I also think this is a great episode for funny Claire memes and her facial expressions just being spot on, and her kind of being in awe of some of the reactions of the people of this time. But on the whole, I think, again, this scene reiterates why Jamie and Claire's marriage inevitably works later on, is that they genuinely like each other. They like spending time together. They like being around each other. They can talk openly about anything and everything, and that's something that you see over and over again in the show and in the books. But this episode has so many great examples of that, and then I felt like this scene is the perfect sort of culmination of proving that point and hammering it home, because it's not a grand romantic gesture shared between the two of them in this scene. It's just a quiet moment in the stables that means so much more in the greater story of their love.